From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone. I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, and joined by James St. James, the universe's first celebutant, best-selling author, host of Wow Podcast Network's Night Fever.
That's me.
Yes. And, of course, Tom Campbell, Wow's Chief Creative Officer, the yin to James's yang.
I'm a little scared because right before on the air, James had a sort of a performative fit, and so I'm still processing.
I have a minor crashing out, and I'm trying to bring it down, be in a good mood, loving unicorns, rainbows, and bunny rabbits.
But it was a delightful mixture of true anger mixed with performance art, and that's what makes you, James St. James.
Exactly. It keeps you on your toes because you never quite know when it's performance only or real only.
That is the joy of James St. James and what I bring to every episode.
That's right. We should definitely do a James St. James episode.
Oh, here we go again.
Anywho, this week we're counting down as well. We count down the top 10 things that made us go wow every week, but this week we're doing a special edition of Nepo Baby. Now, I actually have a question. Is it Nepo babies or Nepo babies?
Nepo, like nepotism.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I just say Nepo. It sounds like some kind of chemical hybrid or something. Nepo babies. All right. I'll get it right.
You also say aluminium. So, I mean, who knows what you have in mind?
Nepo. Okay. Nepo number 10. Tom, kick it off.
Number 10.
I just want to point out my point of view on this whole thing is Nepo babies get a bad rap. You know, they're an industry town. They pick up their parents' industry, and some of them may be less talented and have more advantages, sure. But I'm here to celebrate with my Nepo babies. And I'm going to start with number 10 on the list. Number 1 in my heart, Miley Cyrus.
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah.
I think an amazing Nepo baby puts her parent politely in the rearview mirror. And I think, I'm going to bring you back to the early 90s, to Achy Breaky Heart, to Billy Ray Cyrus's tight jeans. And back before the internet, the Macarena would take America by storm. Achy Breaky Heart took America by storm. He was hot. He had a mullet when mullets were hot.
Oh, it really was. It was the only person probably who can rock a mullet. He was hot. He was hot back in the day. He just was.
Totally. And he also cameoed in a Dolly video that she did with a lot of hot country female stars at the time called Romeo. And it was all like being in a bar and checking out Romeo. And there's a bunch of girls talking like guys do at a bar. Blake loves that song. And he was the Romeo who came in with the tight Kathy Mateo's in it and a lot of things. But around that time, I have to believe, Trish, is it Trish? It's Tish. Tish was pregnant with Miley, and Dolly Parton became Miley Cyrus's godmother. So from the very beginning, she was blessed with Achy Breaky and the lovely Dolly Parton. And then Miley broke onto the scene and was Billy Ray's daughter when she was Hannah Montana. Of course, a whole young generation didn't even really know about him, but I believe he played her father on the sitcom. Dolly also made some appearances at her grandmother or something crazy like that. But Miley Cyrus has had more lives than people 30 years older than her. More careers, more styles. Even though they've been wildly different, they seem so authentic to where she was in her life. Party girl. She was, when she made Banger, she wanted to make an R&B album, and she kind of went off in that direction. She's on her Malibu album, which couldn't be more mellow.
I think it's so fascinating that, when she did Party in the USA and then Wrecking Ball and the Mountain. Did she do the Mountain? I think she did the Mountain, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And those 3 songs, it was like all of a sudden, like we knew her.
The Climb.
The Climb. There you go. The Climb. Yeah.
Okay.
It just the idea that she was breaking out in such a big way, and she went from that tween to to like just superstar. And it was fascinating to see her do that breakout. And it really just caught, I think, the industry by surprise, and it caught everybody in the audience by surprise as well.
And at some point, when you do that breakout from child star to star, you need to slay the child that you were. Like, so when she did the Blurred Lines performance, right, people were like up in arms because it was so explicitly sexual, right? I don't think she wasn't on Blurred Lines, was she? She just did the performance with Robin Thicke at the MTV Awards.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Outraged. She was wearing a latex bra and panties.
Well, she also
she slayed Hannah Montana at that point. She killed Hannah Montana.
For the Nickelodeon Awards, I think she did a dance on an ice cream cart that had a stripper pole on it. I think Jamal Sims from RuPaul's Drag Race choreographed that. But she's been through so much controversy, and she's faced so much of it because she's a woman, because you can't be sexual, because it's that whole thing. And she's done it so brilliantly. A little over a year ago, there was a TikTok series. Pay attention. It was a little blurbs where they just shot Miley on a couch. I think everyone in front of her was like her posse, her mom and her friends, and they would hand her an iPad with a picture or some video, and she just remarked upon her career, and it was so insightful. And she said stuff like, I learned that when they did the first Hannah Montana album, she insisted they do a Miley Cyrus side. So one song was Hannah Montana songs, and one was done by Miley Cyrus, and that was her first breakout, her first identity as an artist herself. And she has become.
And it's funny that her father, as she skyrockets up, and never looking back down, her father has crashed out in the MAGA world. And if you recall at the inauguration this past year, when he was stumbling around on the stage all drunk and just like, it was just a horror show. So it is interesting that she has firmly outshone her father in almost every respect since.
But she's very sensitive about that. She is.
Well, I'm not sensitive about that. I'll talk about that. I will go on.
She has a song out called Secrets. It's her anthem of forgiveness toward her father and trying to find some kind of reconciliation.
Well, I don't need to forgive her father. I don't need to forgive her father. So.
Okay, yeah, I'm just saying what you said. I'm talking about Miley. I don't know if you have famous parents or not. Maybe you're a Nepo baby too. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I think we'll discover that as we go along.
Can I just say, nothing breaks like a heart? It just makes me cry every time I hear it. I love that song so much.
And she's got the Grammy now. She's just beginning. Everything she does, her taste is great. Her backyard concerts, if you haven't sampled those, are amazing. Her and Ariana singing
Don't Dream It's Over.
Don't dream it's over. Say now. Change your life. Nepo baby, number 10.
All right.
Miley Cyrus.
Which means if we've done number 10, the next one is number 9. James.
Number 9.
I wanted to celebrate Drew Barrymore for a second there because God, what a wonderful gift she is to the world. She comes from the Barrymore acting dynasty, John Ethel and Lionel Barrymore, going back further than that. In the 19th century, her great-grandfather, I think, was Maurice Barrymore and his wife, Georgiana Drew, which she was named after. So she really is like the Nepo baby to beat, I think, in Hollywood. I partied with young Drew Barrymore when she was 10 years old. She was at the Limelight, 10 years old. It was after an Oscar de la Renta fashion show, a Barbie fashion show that Oscar de la Renta had dressed everybody in Barbie clothes. It was sort of an odd thing. And her mother came up to Michael Musto and I and said, will you watch Drew? As she disappeared into a back VIP room for 2 hours. So we babysat Drew at the bar for 2 hours. Then in the 90s, when she was in her flower girl, raver, party girl period, I partied with her at a bar called Squeeze Box. And then about 10 years ago.
Amazing she survived all this.
I know. Flower, her production company, Flower Films, co-produced my book, Freak Show, and made the movie out of it. So I have quite a history with Drew, although I don't even know if she remembers who I don't know if she knows my name, but she produced my movie. So I love Drew. And I just, looking back on her movies, my favorites are Grey Gardens, followed by Donnie Darko, Scream. You forget how great she was in Scream.
Oh my God.
The Amy Fisher Story,
Yes.
Firestarter. She was Gillian, Brian's dizzy girlfriend on Family Guy for a number of years. Batman Forever. She was so good in that. She was in, this is my favorite. I don't know if you remember, Tom, you might remember this, the Woody Allen musical, Everybody Says I Love You.
I
When
saw
she
it.
sang, she was so good in that. She and Julia Roberts were in a musical, a Woody Allen musical. It's so fabulous. So I just, I'm here to celebrate Drew Barrymore and her. You know, we love her show, we love her talk show, everything about her.
She seems different than I ever imagined she would be on the talk show. She, you know, she'll often, won't she? She'll sit with her feet up. Like,
people get a little upset with her because she doesn't have any like spatial boundaries. She's always like, you know, hugging everyone, and she's always sitting in their laps, basically. I love that because I don't have those boundaries either. So
having worked in daytime and dealt with incredible hosts and people who should have been good hosts but weren't, this didn't have that special X. When she started off, you were like, oh no, she may be a great actor, she may be great, but she's not a good host. But she turned any of her criticisms or any of the things you turn against her into assets. She just embraced her weirdness, her cross-leggedness, her touching people, her hugging people. And now she is a pure brand. Instead of sort of being beaten down by because I'm telling you, daytime hosts get notes every single day.
And there was a sort of vibe, wasn't it, that it was on whatever you call it, when something's on the bubble of like
life support. Yes. But it's actually an amazing show. And Ross Matthews, who we love, of course, is there too. But no, Drew Barrymore has become a major voice of her generation.
It's really not something it's an unusual journey, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
Number 8.
Number 8.
Okay, my little preamble was like, everything Tom says is true and is correct. And I was also a little apprehensive because as I was scrolling through the list of the Nepo baby, I was like, I don't know. Because it is an unfair label to label someone, but sometimes it's hard for them to transcend. Well, if Nepo comes first, it's like they're like burdened with that. And so as I was like going through the list, I was trying to find people I felt who just transcended, not left everybody else in the shadows, not left their parents in the shadows, but just sort of maybe just did something different or else than you might expect. Anyway, the reason my next pick is Mariska Hargitay, whose mom was, of course, Jane Mansfield, the bombshell. And Mariska just directed a documentary about her lineage, her parentage, her mother. And it's an extraordinary film. We talked about it once before. It's an amazing, if you haven't seen it, you must see it. The fact that she even survived the fatal crash that killed her mother is a jaw-dropping moment in and of itself, because, spoiler alert, they had left the scene of the accident, and then someone suddenly realized she had been left behind. And she was pulled out from under the dashboard. I mean, that alone is like amazing, but it's so different to what you expect because Mariska Hargitay, is the star of SUV. I think she's the longest running character in American primetime drama.
But she's a Nepo baby on both sides because Haggerty or
Nikki Haggerty.
Nikki Haggerty, yeah.
Well, of course, that is the twist, is it not, of the whole film, is that her father is not who her father is. Like, she didn't.
But her whole life she grew up believing that. So, you know.
Yes. Oh, yes. And no shade to her, the man who raised her as her father. But it's very brave, I think, also that she made a documentary sort of laying it all out. And she had actually said that she would never have done that because she felt that it would cause the father who raised her pain. Yeah. But of course, he's passed away. And then she realized that actually, A, it wouldn't cause him pain anymore, but B, it would be so helpful to so many people because, you know, the power of secrets can be terribly destructive. And it's an incredible film. I mean, she's a great actress, but she's also a really phenomenal director. And so that's why
I saw her live in person at the Emmys, very close. She's very, very beautiful. Her husband is gorgeous. She has a great family. She seems to be someone who's gotten incredible fame and longevity in this business without having to not work for, but having to like crawl and beg. And, you know, like, I feel like she's done it on her terms. Even this documentary is
thing. So many Nepo babies, they rely on the famous name, or they rely on the, you know, the lineage or whatever like that. But she really, I think she became famous, and she was a long working actress before people really made the connection about her mother.
Yes.
I don't think she ever really relied on that. In fact, it's sort of like when we all found out about Anderson Cooper, it was like 10 years into his career.
And isn't that great? I think that must be so great, because she has said that she said this, she said, I couldn't walk into any room with a clean slate. There was a self-consciousness that I carried with me, and I couldn't just be free. I remember being so jealous of people who have anonymity. They were free as an artist to try anything. I hated it. But she has so transcended the Nepo label.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, I think she's a great example of that. Yeah.
But it makes you think also how burdensome it must be.
Well, what they always say about Nepo babies is that the door is open for you, but you have to then produce. You then have to actually have the talent to back it up.
Right.
And so it is a burden, but it's also a blessing.
I think so much of making it in Hollywood, and this is even behind the scenes, is just getting used to it. And I think people that grew up in the business, their parents did, it's something they're familiar with. And I think that's the advantage.
It's like Sean Cassidy and David Cassidy and stuff. You know, like or Liza or any of them, where they grow up in Hollywood.
Yeah, but it seems within touch. It's not mystical. It's practical.
Yeah. And so that are able, Tom, to navigate it potentially, sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a quick break. I got to tell you, Drag Race The Experience, an all new immersive activation. It gives fans a chance to see the sets in person, go behind the scenes. You can be, as it were, in the show. You go through the workroom, you'll see the one-way mirror, you'll walk on the stage, and of course, plenty of picture-taking opportunities. Oh, an incredible amount of behind-the-scenes stuff that has never been seen before. Did I leave anything out, Tom?
No, it's good.
I think you'll probably be able to exit through the gift shop too.
You do. And right now you can go get your tickets at wowpresentsplus.com/experience.
Instead of a question this week, I thought maybe we'd talk about some Nepo families.
Okay.
The Baldwins.
Oh.
You got Alex.
Estevezes.
Yeah, you've got the
Culkins.
The Culkins. The Osmonds, Tom.
Bold or bold?
The Baldwins? I've never heard of the Baldwins.
The Baldwins. I thought you were going to talk about the bald ones. I was like,
well, we've got three of the bald ones right here.
I know.
The Arquettes.
Oh, sure.
Anyway, just a little shout out to them.
Yeah. We'll be right back here on the Wow Report, counting down the top 10 Nepo babies that make us go, wow.
Wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We are counting down Nepo babies. I'm here with Tom and James and Blake, and we've reached number 7.
Number 7.
Again, qualifying, these are my favorite Nepo babies. Not a negative thing, just people who happen to be born famous, who have created an incredible career. And on my list next is Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, wow.
Again, the young kids, they forget. Janet Leigh and Tony Curtis are her parents. 2 movie stars at the height of Hollywood's greatness. Have you ever seen early movies with Janet Leigh? There's one she with Robert Mitchum that said at Christmas. You ever see that one, James, on Turner Classic Movies?
Yeah.
It was called Holiday Affair. Thank you, Blake. She is so beautiful. She's radiant. It's like when I first came to Southern California and I went to Manhattan Beach and I realized everyone was genetically superior to me. And someone explained that everybody good looking came to Hollywood to become movie stars and most of them didn't. They all moved to the rest moved to Manhattan Beach. But supposedly Norman Shear, who was a big Hollywood royalty in the 30s, she was like skiing in Idaho, and the gentleman who ran the ski resort had a picture of his daughter and it was Janet Leigh, and she became a Hollywood star. Tony Curtis was a scrappy Italian, beautiful. He was in Some Like It Hot.
Janet Leigh. We also Touch of Evil. She was in The Manchurian Candidate. She was in My Sister Eileen, which is so good. And I love Scaramouche. I'm sorry,
but she's amazing. Tony Curtis had an incredible career. They became a power couple. They were very big during the election, the Kennedy election in 1960. They were part of the Rat Pack and Frank Sinatra and all those people that put on, campaign for him and put on the thing. They divorced. They had 2 daughters, Jamie being one of them. And Jamie popped into the consciousness in an auspicious debut that could have sort of stereotyped for the rest of her life. And that, of course, is Halloween. She became a scream queen for the first part of her career. She was kind of in semi-low budget, very high profitable movies. Halloween, we've talked about a lot. It's one of her favorite movies. She's so good in it. She has made, more like Halloween, whatever she made, the last Halloween she was the first female over 60 to have her name above the title of a movie that made hundreds of millions of dollars the first weekend. She can do comedy. She was in
Fish Called Wanda.
Fish Called Wanda, Freakier Friday. She, of course, is married to Christopher Guest.
She is actually a baroness, isn't she? Because it's a Guest, a baron.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, she's married. She's the Baroness Guest.
Yes, and she actually made some movies with her mother. Obviously, her mother did Psycho, but she did The Fog, which I have to talk about. Anyway,
but she also, an interesting thing, and I know you're probably going to talk about this, is that for many years her career was sort of drying up, and she just sort of segued into doing the poop commercials, the poopy yogurt commercials.
The yogurt commercials that helped your digestive tract, probiotics, which we're all into right now. She was ahead of us. Activia.
But it's sort of like, when times got tough, she did what she had to do, and now she's back on top again. She's winning Oscars.
And she's won an Oscar. She has lived a life. She talks about getting sober. She's a sober woman. She has a trans child that she's very supportive of publicly. She is an ally and an advocate and is doing the best work.
I just saw the last Showgirl. She is so crazy in that. She's absolutely hysterical. She really she's embracing
the best part of that movie.
What?
Yes,
she's the best part of that movie. The last Showgirl.
Well, I mean, Pamela, but sure. I mean, the fact that she embraces her age and her, what she does now is she's just bonkers. I love it.
She's in The Bear, which I don't watch, but people really love it. She was in Everybody, Everywhere, All at Once. When she goes on a talk show now, she's so outspoken. She's so full of life. I remember she was doing promo after the Palisades fire, which she lost, I believe, everything. And she came on and talked about it in a way. She just inspires me in a time when we need inspiring people. Jamie Lee Curtis is one of them. And she seems to do that. She has, I don't want to say she surpassed her parents, but she is not anyway in their shadow and does so much in her living amends or her living life, does them so proud. And she remembers them so fondly, even though, not every parent is perfect. And I think her father suffered from addiction, which is something that she's also battled with.
Isn't she also doing Murder, She Wrote?
She's doing Murder, She Wrote. That's the next big thing. They're doing Murder, She Wrote as a movie. The Jessica Fletcher of it all. Yes, this is what she announced it first. So it's going to be a movie. It just seems like it's begging to be a series. I just have to put this out publicly. Nobody knows Murder, She Wrote more than RuPaul. And if you're doing a Murder, She Wrote movie and you're not hiring RuPaul as a consultant, then you are wasting your time.
Also, I don't know. This is a Night Fever trivia question right here. Do you know who Christopher Guest is half brothers with, Fenton?
Oh my God, I don't know.
Anthony Hayden Guest, who was the inspiration for Bonfire of the Vanities. Right. A long time downtown regular.
Does CC Guest fit into this at all?
No, those are the British guests. Where these guests are, I believe, French related. I can't remember.
Huh. All right, so my favorite Nepo baby on my list at number 7 is Jamie Lee Curtis.
Moving on to number 6, James.
Number 6.
My favorite Nepo babies of all time. I'm going to give a shout out to the wonderful Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton. Nicole Richie, of course, is, the daughter of Lionel Richie. Paris is from the Hotelier dynasty. And I believe, it's sort of funny. I think that her mother is probably the Nepo child of Paris at this point. I think that her mother is getting her fame from Paris.
A Nepo parent. I like that.
The Nepo mommy. Yes. The Simple Life, it hit the zeitgeist so beautifully in the early 2000s. It was the defining reality show of its era. And I have to, much more so than probably, I would say, the Osbournes. I would say in the very beginning, it was The Simple Life. And the thing that we hate about Nepo babies, the entitlement, the brattiness, the upper class snottiness, the mean girl, you can't sit with us ethos of it all, they brilliantly turned it all on its ear and made that the most endearing thing about them. You actually, what we hate about Nepo babies is what we wanted them to succeed. Despite we know that that they're rich, snotty, upper class girls, but for some reason it set the template for every influencer for the next 25 years, for every Trustafarian kid, every social bee wannabe. They all wanted to be like that. And yet nobody is able to take that horribleness and turn it into a positive the way that Nicole and Paris did.
They owned it, didn't they?
They owned it. They owned it and leaned into it. And there's something inherently sweet about them and sort of likable about them in a way that probably like Tinsley Mortimer wasn't able to channel when she got her reality show. Other people tried that template and it just didn't work because there's just something very sweet and relatable about both Paris and Nicole. Yeah.
And I'll add a dash of kind of harsh reality to this too, because they're the first generation of Hollywood stars who were the paparazzi and TMZ were alive and well. And so they had some big falls. Let's not forget Nicole driving down the wrong way on the Glen. I mean, it was frightening times. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh my God, she's so messed up. She doesn't know what she's doing. I'll never forget the day that Paris went to court and cried, mommy, and, was found with cocaine or something in her purse. They went through their humiliations, their youthful humiliations, their useful missteps, which we all go through and Hollywood people have gone through.
And
they went through publicly.
That's what makes it relatable too, is that she did fall, but then she managed to pull herself back up again.
I was going to say, but to their credit, they both matured into very lovely, wise. I don't want to say they're the grand dames of Beverly Hills, but in a way they are. They have lineage, they have class, they have taste. And they seem
mothers, and when you think about the way Paris has gone in before Congress and talked about, bullying in schools and how she was mistreated when she was in the school in Utah, like that, she really does good for herself and she does good for other people too.
And when we did Candidly Nicole with Nicole Richie,
of course, yeah.
She's just so classy and so cool. She makes you feel so uncool without being mean. She just is that cool. And she also, we were doing these reality things and she was still punking people kind of, but she was so careful. She wanted to be in environments that were safe, that everybody knew what was going on. She didn't want to exploit her family. She didn't want to exploit her kids. I was in focus groups on her, not that you needed to know this, but like her generation loves her like we love Lucille Ball. Like she's just the funniest person they know.
And she, speaking of, she wanted everyone to be safe. She thought I was a stalker of her. She thought me and Adam AC were her stalkers because one time we were asked by production to do a man on the street thing, and she had seen us in the elevator or in the office at World of Wonder. And she was like, I don't know who those guys are, but I've seen them before.
That's lovely.
I love that. I want you to really be her stalker.
Were you in the office, Tom, the day that Paris Hilton went to jail? It was 2007, June 3rd, and there was a kind of motorcade that went past the office in the conference room.
Worse than being in the office, I was shooting a one-day pilot in the Hollywood Hills above her house. And we were shooting Calpurnia's Trans-American Love Story as a one-day pilot. And we were shooting it all on the deck of this house with a view. And it was like, for the first 3 hours, it was like, diggity, 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 like most helicopters I'd ever seen. And we're like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, we'll have to point the camera to a helicopter and say, this presentation was shot on the day of Paris Hilton's trial, and just have to deal with it. But then they went downtown, and like whoosh, all of the sound went downtown, and we were fine.
They literally went past the office, like down Hollywood Boulevard. Like, I'm sure there are easier ways to get to the jail than go by the office.
That was the best time at WOW, and it was right before I started, unfortunately, because also right then was when the Amy Winehouse video was filmed right outside of WOW, shot by David LaChapelle, right before I started.
And Theron and Stephen Corfer were your extras in our scene.
Amazing.
No more tears. No tears.
Tears dry on their own.
Thank you.
Number 5.
Number 5.
So I was like having my little, scrolling through, trying to find, oh gosh, this is going to be a dodgy episode for me. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And then I thought, well, I wonder who else has made a documentary about their Nepo status or their story. And of course, I came across Robert Downey Jr., who is such an incredible actor. Really, really incredible. And I have to admit, the very first time I saw him, I guess it was in some Brat Pack movie, I don't remember, I had impure thoughts. And so I've always had a little bit of a crush on him. But I think he's always been comfortable with the gays. I think he's been, some people give out a empathetic vibe more than most. And I just got lots of happy vibes from that. But I felt in Chaplin, he played Charlie Chaplin in the movie Chaplin. He was nominated for Best Actor, didn't get it. And I was so outraged because I thought he was so, so good in that movie, playing Charlie Chaplin. Do you remember it?
Yes, of course. He was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you should talk about his Nepo relation.
But I will get there.
Right,
Robert Downey Jr. So he was brilliant as Chaplin and Charlie Chaplin. And I know everyone wants me to move along, which is a good idea. And then he sort of disappeared for a while because he had very serious drug problems and issues that he fought, and emerged, I think, no less triumphantly than his Charlie Chaplin role as Tony Stark. I think he was in many ways the making of the Marvel franchise. He embodied the wit, the knowingness, the cleverness, the throwaway lines. And that character, Tony Stark, in multiple Marvel iterations, truly evolved. And it kind of, one of the most lovely parts about it is the father-son relationship, or the sort of mentor-mentee relationship with Peter Parker, Spider-Man, because he's very dismissive and putting down of this precocious little punk, but also adores him, nurtures him, lifts him up. And it's a real father-son relationship that, in Marvel movies, the characters and the emotions can sometimes get lost in all the special effects. But I always thought Robert Downey Jr. cut through it all and delivered the emotions first.
Can I also some of his really other favorite roles of his too?
Yeah.
Natural Born Killers, absolutely brilliant. Soap Dish, good.
Less Than Zero.
Yes, Less Than Zero, of course. Yeah, The Pickup Artist. Weird Science, of course.
Exactly. But in spite of doing Chaplin, in spite of doing Tony Stark, the thing that really won my heart was when he made a documentary about his father and his relationship with his father, revealing, of course, I guess what people already knew, that he's a Nepo baby, because his dad was an experimental avant-garde filmmaker. Putney Swope, yes. And as his dad becomes terminally ill, he decides to make a film with him. And the sort of premise is, because his dad is as smart as Robert Downey Jr., and they have this sort of sparring vibe, that dad is like, well, I'm going to make my own version. You make your version. And of course, the best of all plans, whether it was a real plan or not, didn't quite work out that way, but is a powerful, moving documentary. And I just think it's so wonderful to see when someone famous, I guess, is able to make a film about their parents, just like Mariska Hargitay did, really. But because you just get this other dimension, you get something that I think is potentially so real.
You have Anne Miriam and Jerry Stiller's son, Ben Stiller, is doing a documentary about them that's very moving and very sweet. Yeah, I enjoy that too. I think that's very nice.
I think he should have gotten that Oscar for Chaplin. I think maybe part of it was because Chaplin himself was such a controversial figure and seen as something of a sort of, I don't think Luke Barrymore was quite ready to forgive him then, Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll carry on with our countdown, our celebration of Nepo babies here on the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We've been celebrating the top 10 Nepo babies that make us go wow. And we've reached number 4.
Number 4.
John F. Kennedy Jr. Kind of the ultimate Nepo baby in that he had the most famous parents in the world, JFK and Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. And obviously his presence and his upbringing was tied to one of the most tragic moments in American history. His mother, once their father is assassinated, one of the reasons I think she married Onassis was to take her children, Caroline, his sister, and John.
If they're shooting Kennedys, then I am out of here, she famously said.
It's apparently true that she's credited with raising her children who could have turned out so. Kennedys turn out crazy anyway. Kennedys in general, not all of them, but some of them. RFK Jr. And John F. Kennedy seemed so normal, so down to earth, and devastatingly handsome. I ran into JFK Jr. 3 times in my life, which always makes me think, like, obviously I knew it was him because he's so famous. Like, how many other people who I don't know have I run into 3 times or more in my life? First was at my brother's Harvard graduation. Carolyn Kennedy was in his class, and Jacqueline Kennedy and her brother, JFK Jr., sat 2 seats in 1 row away from us. I know because I counted. Just in case
what was Jackie wearing? What was Jackie wearing? What was Jackie wearing?
I was going to say, she and my mom were dressed very similarly.
Oh,
they both had white pleated skirts, red blazers, and my mother's was sort of like from the lady shop in New London. I'm sure Jackie was wearing Valentino or something. So I was very excited that my mom and Jackie O looked very, very similar. Another time I was near the Brill building in New York, you know,
downtown,
and he had on his signature beret.
Bandana.
Yes, and he was kind of like roller skating down the street, and everyone just like stopped as he went by. And there was another time I went to the Odeon, that restaurant downtown,
on West Broadway.
And we were waiting in line. I was with actually the Mommies, Carol and Marilyn, and we were there, and we looked, and he was just there with a bunch of friends, and we just had this. As we were waiting for our table, we weren't being too rude. We had this beautiful faraway tableau of John F. Kennedy, and he was just gorgeous. He, of course, was, you know, with his magazine George, was, you know, fusing politics and pop culture at a time that seemed really prescient. And it's so hard to wonder, I don't know how old he is now. I do say my nickname growing up was Tom Tom because he was John Kennedy. And I remembered that because my cousin Chuck was visiting recently, and we were all Chuck, Tom, John, because that's what we did because of the Kennedys. But he would be in his 60s now. You know, it's what would he have been like in the...
Well, we don't have to ask because according to Q, he's still alive and he's going to come and take over the presidency.
That's fantastic. But
I saw him a few times as well at Area and Palladium, and I remember it, like you, Tom. One time I was in Central Park, and he came rollerblading by with his shirt off, and it was that same thing. It was like, you know, sound waves, and everyone was just like falling to the ground as he went past, because just that unearthly beauty of his, that preternatural gorgeousness.
To get political for a moment, because I always do. Carolyn Kennedy, his sister, who is so tight-lipped and proper and doesn't get into any kind of controversy, she has come out, as has his sister Carrie, against RFK Jr.
and Jack Schlossberg, of course.
Yes, all of them. So it's like, God bless America, and, you know, nostalgia for the time of the hope that was once John F. Kennedy Jr.
Number 3.
Number 3.
I don't know how to do this one because we're celebrating Nepo babies, and I'm just gonna say I love Louisa Jacobson. I do, and this might be a little unpopular. Tom might get a little upset with me here because, of course, she is the daughter of Meryl Streep, and she is on The Gilded Age, where she plays Marion Brooke on The Gilded Age. Now, did she inherit her mother's volcanic talent? The jury is still out on that one because the character she plays is a little bland, But is it bland because of women's roles during the period, or sort of like that's what she was sort of shoehorned into? I don't know. We have to see more of what she's capable of. But I just, God bless her. It's got to be hard if Meryl Streep is your mother to decide to be an actress at that. So because of that, I think that she's got brass balls, boy. I think it really takes a lot to step into your mother's shoes and to try and step out of her shadow, so to speak. I don't know. I'm mixing metaphors here. What do you think, Tom?
Gilded Age. I became from fan to super fan third season, so I'm a little, and I grew to appreciate her character and her role, because they put her in this untenable role of being sort of the ingenue who never finds love. So she kind of has to reset. And they're always like, oh, she got so upset because her boyfriend, her fiance, went to a house of ill repute. It's like, well, you would be upset back. It's interesting. It's putting modern.
And I think the thing is that the show is just jam-packed with some of the most talented people on the planet, some of the best of best of Broadway. And so you have all these, just like I said, volcanic talent surrounding you. And it is hard for her to step out to sort of like, how do you Audra, what's her name?
It's hard to out Audra McDonald.
Yes, Audra McDonald. And you have
Alicia Rashad,
Christine Baranski. You have all these people who, like, how do you compete in that arena and stand out? So she has a very rough road to hoe, I guess is the expression.
Mark my words, season 4 belongs to her.
There you go. Okay. I'm not bagging on her, but I'm just saying that I love her for her gumption.
All right. Number 2. I thought, like, maybe I should talk about faux Nepo babies. Like when someone says that they're descendants of so-and-so and that, they use it to scam society. So that wouldn't be a particularly positive thing. And as I was sort of noodling around looking, I came across this hilarious story, which I am not going to tell, of Ivan the Terrible. He had a son called Dmitri. Now, I don't know much about Ivan the Terrible, but he was a sort of terrible Russian person, right? Ivan the Terrible, one of the reasons he was so terrible.
He killed him, didn't he?
Correct. Yeah. He did kill him, or he died under mysterious circumstances, I believe. He had more than one son. One he absolutely killed, yes. But one of them died under mysterious circumstances, which led to 3 fake Dimitris. Dimitri 1, Dimitri 2, Dimitri 3.
Is this like an Anastasia thing? Like people keep popping up and saying that they're Dimitri?
Yes, I think that happens a lot in Russia, I guess. But there were actually 3 Ivan the Terrible imposters. You're taxing my historical knowledge here, but this is...
Wait a minute. Isn't there a very famous painting of Ivan the Terrible hugging his dying son, and the look of anguish on his face? People to this day still look at that painting.
Very probably,
yes. We're all Googling.
Very probably, yes. But I wasn't even going to tell this story. And maybe...
you started, so we got to keep going.
Sometimes you start somewhere and then you go somewhere else. It's a progression,
Oh.
So then as I was doing this, I thought, never mind this. I suddenly realized I know a fake Nepo baby. And I hear you ask, who? I hear you, me.
What?
There is another Fenton Bailey, and he is a real Nepo baby. And I can't do this. I'm just not going to do this.
No, keep going. I'm fascinated.
Let's stick with Dimitri. Let's just stick with the fucking Ivan the Terrible Dimitris.
That's the painting.
I just sent you. Go look right now. Yes, that's the painting of Ivan the Terrible clutching his dying son, and the look of horror on his face as he realizes what he's done. People for generations have been flocking to this image and talking.
Why he actually killed him, because first thing that happened is that Ivan struck his son's pregnant wife.
Oh, yes.
Causing her to miscarry. And then his son, Ivan Ivanovich, confronted him At which point the Tsar, Ivan the Terrible, flew into a rage and fatally struck him in the head with his scepter. So
talk about being, regicide or killing by the king or whatever. King.
So no wonder he's looking anguished because he's just killed his son.
Well, was he terrible before this, or is that why he's terrible?
He was terrible before this. He actually he created. This might sound familiar given where we are today. He created a state police force who dressed in black and rode black horses and snatched people off the street and just seized them and took their goods and what have you. So
I'll be ding donged. Yeah, he sounds terrible.
Yeah, but then unfortunately his younger son, Dmitri, died under mysterious circumstances, and the problem with that was he had no heir. Ivan the Terrible had no heir.
So Peter the Great was not his son.
Sorry?
Peter the Great was not his son.
What's that sound?
It's banging. Someone's banging in my house. I feel that Blake, just edit this into something. I'm sure you can make magic. That's not me.
But wait a minute.
Hopefully we won't be doing another Nepo baby shows anytime soon.
But you brought up the fact that there is another Fenton Bailey. Who is this other Fenton Bailey?
My story is ruined, but basically there is another Fenton Bailey. Yes. He is the son of very famous 60s photographer David Bailey.
Oh, really? Is that where you got your name from?
No.
They named you because no,
it's actually the other way around. So here's the story. I was
David Bailey named it because of you.
Here's the story, James.
God,
you're making a lot of work
in your mouth, James.
The story is this.
Yeah.
I was a student and I got a summer job working in a nightclub. The nightclub was called Regine's. It was the London nightclub.
Well, of course, Regine's is huge, yes.
I'm sure you were there every night. And one day at the nightclub, David Bailey came in to do a photo shoot because David Bailey was this very sensational 60s pop photographer. And in the 70s, early 80s, he was a legend. He launched his own magazine called Ritz, and he was there doing a photo shoot. I was a fan of his. And I'm like, David Bailey, my name's Bailey, Fenton Bailey. I'm going to get his autograph. Never gotten anyone's autograph before. Go up to him on the lunch break. And I said, will you sign your copy of Ritz magazine? I'm a fan. He said, oh, yes. What's your name? I said, Fenton Bailey. He said, that's an incredible name. And I was like, oh, yes, it is. 10 years later, his son was born, Fenton Bailey. So it's actually a sort of switcheroo situation. And I do sometimes think, sometimes that maybe my path sometimes in Hollywood has been eased by the fact that people think I might.
Isn't there a famous story about you calling you doing an interview with someone and they thought that you were the David, but you thought they were that?
It's happened many times. It has happened many times. I mean, because people generally, the little I know about being a Nepo baby, people generally don't want to mention it, but then they will. You know, you'll get to know them and they say, "Oh, what's your dad really like?" or something like that. And
but wait, who was the famous person that you were on the phone with, and they kept thinking you were that person? It was like, was it the guy who blows up all the buildings in his movies?
I don't know, Jay. Sometimes you
guy, he blows up all the buildings.
I'm challenged at the best of times, but now
what does the other Fenton Bailey do now?
Oh, thank you, Tom. He is a model and he is a photographer.
Well, he's not more famous than you, so there.
There's another James St. James from Saginaw, Michigan, from my hometown, and he's a famous radio DJ, national AM talk. And they did this when Party Monster came out. The Saginaw News did this story. The story of two Saginaw James St. Jameses, and they called me just before the UK premiere, like 10 minutes before I was supposed to be downstairs. And I said, I can't really talk. I gotta go. And they were mad at me, so they put this picture of me in a K-hole in a dress with green hair. And it was like the story of two James St. And they have this well-dressed DJ, and then me like that. And it was like one of them has green hair and wears a dress and does drugs. The other is a famous DJ.
I think the world is complete with just one James St. James.
Well, yeah.
I think there's
also
moral.
another James St. James who was a serial killer, and he was a professor who killed all of his students and buried them in his backyard.
I think maybe we should just take one more break and never come back. You are listening to our celebration of Nepo babies here on the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. Fenton here with James St. James, the third James St. James, not the serial killer James St. James, not the radio DJ James St. James, the original James St. James.
And the original Fenton Bailey.
With green hair and a K-hole. That one.
And Tom Campbell.
Are there other Tom Campbells? Can't Tom Campbell?
For a long time, I think there was a Senator Tom Campbell from California, state senator, and I had on my American Airlines frequent flyer card Honorable Tom Campbell, and I got upgraded all the time.
Do people think you're the heir to the soup fortune?
Supposedly, my father told my mother that he was Campbell's soup, and my father thought my mother, whose last name was Farah, was from the Farah Slacks company, but we're poor white trash.
Well, then who is number one Nepo baby?
Number one.
It's Liza with a Z, not Lisa with an S, because Lisa with an S goes snuts. Another documentary that we've watched this year, Liza Minnelli's documentary, a book that's about to come out. She was the Giving Us Lifetime Achievement Award winner on this season of RuPaul's Drag Race, Liza Minnelli. She is the epitome of coming from two incredibly famous, incredibly talented parents who any other human being would be dwarfed by their talent, would be dwarfed by their story. But as we reminded so brilliantly in the documentary, and if you've lived the past 60 years, as many of us have, Liza Minnelli has survived, has created her own imprint, her own indelible kind of emoji onto the world. Like what Liza's energy is, while it definitely springs from her father and her mother, is so uniquely hers. For a long time, was she going to be another gone too soon tragedy like her mother? Quite the opposite. She's still with us. She's still alive and well. She grew up in Hollywood. She knows everybody. She knows everything. She's been part of, for so long. She really defines the 70s, every year of it. So what do you guys? Are you with me on Liza Minnelli?
Oh, I don't think there's anyone better. Yeah.
1,000%. She's done so many different things. I mean, like recording with the Pet Shop Boys, for example, is like losing my mind.
Okay. Yes.
And then even we were briefly in the running to produce her reality show with David Guest, which was something of a train wreck, I guess. But we did have a meeting with her, and we were brought into this sort of darkened hotel room with a giant buffet, like of food reaching up to the roof behind her. And her and David were eating. And I just remember looking at this buffet and just feeling so hungry. We weren't there to eat. We were there to pitch. And we weren't chosen. But and maybe in so doing, dodged a bullet, I think. Always.
My closest encounter with Liza Minnelli is my friend Greg used to work at the Mondrian for years and years, and he tipped me off that her rehearsal dinner or whatever like was happening at the Mondrian restaurant on the deck, and so I got seats at the restaurant was still open, right, like facing the thing and leaning against the glass as Larry King was the Toastmaster and Liza was there and celebrities, but leaning against the glass, literally pressed against, facing me like this close, was the flat Hollywood asses of Sid Charisse and Miller and who's the one that used to swim?
Esther Williams,
who were all in the wedding party. And so I was there for the pre-wedding festivities, and I glommed onto it like the sycophant that I am.
Those are three of my favorite people on the planet right there. And
they were still with us. Yes. It was the 90s. They looked good. I only know they had flat asses because they had them pressed against the glass.
That's hysterical.
And I come from a long line of flat ass people, so that's not a diss. That's just a biological reality.
Well, that's all we got time for this week, I'm afraid. But thank you so much for joining us on this countdown celebration of Nepo babies. Same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go wow.
Wow.